Okay, so I had another dream last night. Now this is about an update with the motherboard, the computer motherboard, but I thought I'd cover the dream as well, so I put it in the title. So last night I had another intense dream, and it's probably symbolic because of the situation. It was actually pretty clear, but apart from the reason why I was there, but some of it was foggy at the beginning, but initially I was in this room and I was told to oh, that was it, I wanted to use the WC, you know that is a WC. Well, this is the weird bit. So I was dying for a freaking CRAP. It's kind of funny. So I goes up into this little room, and you know what I mean, a little room, you know, one with a little chain on. And this guy wanted to be with me in the same room, right? And he wanted to talk to me about something important. But the weird thing about this dream was that he had writing all over his face. I'm not talking about tattoos. No, I'm not talking about tattoos, no. This was, you know, when you buy equipment, let's see if I can figure out something to show what I mean. You know, when you buy anything, you get a product ID or something on it. Like WD-40, you get like a helpline number, a QR code. Well, this guy had this writing and like little symbols on his face, and then he had writing down both sides of his face with his little symbols, and he had it across his forehead and all over his face. It wasn't tattoos, it was something else. It was hard to recognize the guy. I mean, you could not recognize him because he was just covered in this stuff, right? It's very difficult. It was like camouflaging his identity. This guy was just talking about something, but I can't remember what it was. I think it was the fact that this was prominent on his face, that it's symbolizing what's coming in our future, probably, that we're going to move into a digital age and digital ID. I think that's what it meant. But it was really a weird dream. Now, let's get back to the motherboard. So, since I made the part 17, I made two videos, part 17A and part 17B. Part 17B I encoded on the new motherboard. Part 17A I recorded on this computer, the old machine, right? The reason I did that was because I wanted to do some comparisons. Now there was a difference, because the new motherboard, I currently don't have the PCI Express graphics card, the high speed one, which I normally use in my main machine. That was not in there because I'm using the other power supply, which doesn't have the 6-pin power socket to plug into the graphics card. It has an 8-pin which won't fit, so I'm currently using onboard graphics for that. But that's the difference. But I was doing video encoded, so it didn't use the graphics card really, it used the onboard CPU. Also, there was an issue with, if you remember when I installed the motherboard into the case, there was two standoffs at the top end, because it's a micro board, not the old ATX board, which was the longer board. Because it was the micro board, it was too short to reach the two mounting studs at the far end. But there are holes in the chassis where you can put mounting studs, extended studs to screw a micro. So I ordered these. Standoffs. Obviously I don't need all of them, I only need 2 of them. So that when we mount this new computer motherboard in the case, it's going to be supported all the way around. Because the other issue I had was that one of the threads in the case was stripped out. And if you remember when I was trying to install that motherboard, the one that failed, one of the screws just wasn't gripping, it was just going round and round because it stripped out. So I was thinking, is it possible to I can't use these, obviously these are studs, but yeah, if there's a big gap, but is it possible to stick a nut on the back of where it's stripped out, glue it on, and then when I screw it down I could screw into the nut on the back of the case so we don't have to use the threads in the case itself. So that's what I was thinking about solving that problem, because so that's sorry, I'm just totally whacked out. I need my fan on, I'm just boiling. Hang on a minute. I can't concentrate, I'm too fucking warm. Right, so there were some other issues as well I was thinking of, because I like to explore everything, every aspect, you know. When the other motherboard failed, I speculated about the case and about the power switch and everything else in part 17, whether or not it was causing a problem. And then I thought, there's one thing I haven't looked at, or I haven't explored, because you know I got a memory, you know one of the memory modules failed, right? One memory stick on the computer failed. Only one memory stick, not all 4. And what do we know about these graphics cards is that you use shared memory. And I'm thinking, I wonder. So could it be possible that the graphics card itself, the Asus graphics card that I'm plugging into the motherboard, is it possible that that is faulty? This gets worse and worse, doesn't it? It just gets better and better, doesn't it? And I thought, well, that's going to be interesting if that's the problem, because that means when I plug it back in, it could fry my motherboard again. So I downloaded some printouts for the pinouts. So before I put this other graphics card in this other motherboard, I'm going to do some multimeter tests between ground and the pins, the plus 12 volt and the plus 5 volt and the signal lines, to see if we've got a short on any of the lines, the digital lines. Because if there is a short, it could ruin my motherboard. And I'm not willing to risk that again, no way. And especially since there's more than 750 Ti, as Asus 750 Ti, there's a few more of them available on eBay, so and they're only 30 quid. But I can't afford it right now. This is just, I was talking to my neighbour, this computer stuff just gets so too expensive, you just can't afford it, right? Anyway, the first thing to do is to test that one. To test that one to see if there's any faults with it. To see if there's any shorts on any of the gold contacts on the PCI Express Time 16. I forgot what we call it now. Anyway, I'll put a link in the description later on to the actual article I'm looking at. So I'm going to test that, and now I'm scared to put it in, because when I put this motherboard in the case, I'm going to be very nervous about plugging that graphics card in, because if that graphics card was faulty, it could ruin my motherboard again. And it was, I was using that graphics card when it died, right? Because I was plugged into the PCI. Yeah, I was plugged into the PCI. Oh, I was plugged into the flipping SATA. Oh, God. I can't think. That dream has really messed me up. HDMI. The monitor was plugged into the HDMI of that card when it died on me. So I honestly haven't got the equipment to test these graphics cards. I just don't. And I'm not buying equipment just for myself, just for, yeah. It's not viable. It's not worthwhile. So anyway, so I just wanted to tell you where I'm at the moment. So I've got the standoffs, and I can, as soon as I get that other motherboard out of the case, I can put this one in. And I've been putting it off a little bit though, because as I say, I was waiting for these standoffs. Now they've arrived, I've got no reason why I shouldn't do it. But then once I put it in there, I'm going to be tempted to put that graphics card in, and it could, yeah, if the graphics card itself that caused the problems, could do it all over again. And I'm just going to have to test all the pinouts on there to see if there's a short somewhere on there. That's all I can really do. Because the way it popped, the way it just went, and then it got stuck in a loop, and it's looping over and over again, makes me think that I thought it was the motherboard, right? But it could be the graphics cards was stuck in a loop, and it won't boot now because there's a fault somewhere, and it's not on this new motherboard, it's on the other motherboard which got destroyed. Just don't want to do that again. No. So I'm going to have to do some tests on the, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go. I'm just talking circles here. I'm just, yeah, stressful. So, bye.